All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Professional Brotherhood podcast. I'm honored to have another great guest with me today, Sean Eagen from the Buffalo Fire Department. Sean, how are you?
Hey, doing well. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was early Saturday morning. We're up. Might as well hop on and have a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the scheduling of these sometimes is the hardest part, especially, when firefighters try to talk to other firefighters because everybody's schedule is kind of all over the place. And uh,
Right.
it's funny. I always, when we record these, we always say, "Hey, good morning," or "Good evening," or "Happy Friday." And I
Yeah.
realize, hey, somebody might be listening to this a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, whatever.
Yeah.
they,
It is
they,
what it is.
it
And
is what it is. They get the
that's it.
idea.
You said 4 or 5 dates, and I'm looking and I'm like, well, actually, conveniently they worked out for us. But
Yeah.
it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare, especially with ours that trying to coordinate three schedules, myself, John's, and our guest, so that
Yeah,
we always
yeah.
have. Hence, part of the reason we haven't put one out since January.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So Sean's referring to the Thin Red Line radio show, a podcast that he is a part of. That we were just messing around before we got on air. They haven't put one out in a while, and they're due. So maybe who knows? Maybe we'll light the fire today. Um, but
maybe, who
yeah,
knows?
maybe. So Sean, why don't you just give a little brief intro of yourself for the listeners, and we'll dive into it from there.
It sounds good. Yeah. So, like Chief mentioned here, I'm captain with the Buffalo, New York Fire Department. Um, about to start my 24th year. April 13th is my anniversary date. 1998, I got hired. So currently we're assigned to Truck 7, which is the city's north side on Main Street. If you're familiar with Buffalo, we're near Main and Hernal, basically. Also teach part-time for New York State, like my partner here does. And I teach mostly for special ops. And I really enjoy that. I've been with them for, I don't know, 6 or so years now. I also teach part time with Eckert Fire Tactics with Bob Eckert and the crew, which is new to me. Been with them a little over a year, but man, I tell you, that is fun. It's and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's just it's different than what we're used to. It's
Hmm.
different than teaching people that are probably, the chief said you had to go to this class or whatever. This is people that largely, some of them are paying their own money and they're coming and they just want to learn. And it, like, talk about relighting the fire. It really, truly, like, I'll come home from those weekends motivated as hell. It's like going to, the FDICs and stuff that we haven't been doing since COVID. You come back from
Right.
them and you're all fired up and you're going to change the world. Well, that
Yeah.
gets to happen with these conferences once a month and meeting people from mostly the Northeast. We haven't ventured too far besides mostly in Jersey and Pennsylvania. We were up in
Hmm.
Rochester a couple weeks ago. But man, it's motivating. So married, my wife Melissa and I have been married for 22 years and got 4 kids, keeping us busy. 2 of them are adults now on their own, but you know how that goes. And
Yeah, for sure.
16-year-old daughter, 14-year-old son that are finally back into the school sports and whatnot. So we're in volleyball season right now, but I just got some emails this morning that baseball and softball season are going to be ramping up in the next week or so. So
That's good to hear.
yes, it's it'll be nice. It's a sport where that I can maybe go watch them without having designated areas to sit. Like right now, we have little pieces of tape, and that's where each butt needs to go at the school, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Well, at least you can go. I
yes.
my daughter just started they started competition again in school and college, and they have their first meet this weekend, but she said very strict, no spectators, dad. You can't come yet. I'm like, ugh.
See,
And
we're
this is track. I mean, come on, really?
oh right. Oh yeah, that's crazy. So we're allowed to go to the home matches only. We can't go to the visit, but they actually, which is one positive if they keep the trend when this COVID thing moves on,
Hmm.
is the live streams are awesome.
Yeah, that's
Every
what I've heard.
school has set up for live stream, and it's not like Joe dial up, or it's not a GoPro where you can't see. These are pretty high tech setups, and
Wow.
most of them many of the schools are using like a YouTube channel in there, so the games are always there and in the archives, so you can actually go back and watch them for film study and stuff. So
That's great.
that's one positive, but I like being there to watch. I've watched two of my kids' sports careers end, and you know what I mean, because they got through with college and all
Sure.
that, and I just enjoy being there watching them. It's
Yeah, same here.
something. The virtual thing just isn't the same. It's perfect if you're at the station or you're at the work and you can't make it, but
Yeah.
I like being there, seeing them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But it's, it's good to see that they're adapting like everything else, kind of like the fire service has had to adapt over the last, like this year.
Like we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's interesting how you find connections, right, in the fire service. And you and I have laughed over this a couple of times already. I mean, in the last couple years, a lot of us have gotten to know one another through social media, through sharing channels, through the podcasting, just finding, mutual interests, obviously starting with the fire service. But, we realized that we had originally connected back in, I think it's 2002 now, right? And it's funny because I'll show it to the viewers here on they're gonna look on YouTube. But if you look at the first two names on this sign-in sheet, yeah, I'm that guy. I keep all my stuff, right? But Sean and I shared our fire service instructor 1 class together back in the early 2000s.
So funny that you have that sign-in sheet.
It is, and it's funny. So I have that. So it's funny because I needed to do something else. I don't remember what it was. And I said, hey, I bet I can find that. I was looking for information on some project. I don't even remember what the project was. Really basic. And I was like, I wonder if I still have my fire service instructor 1 book in the basement, because I have a bookshelf with like all my stuff, right? So I come downstairs and sure enough, I pull the book off the shelf and I open it up, and there was the project. And not only was the project there, but this sign-in sheet was there. And I just laughed because it's literally, you were the first person to sign in and I was the second person to sign in.
I'm a diligent student. I'm always there first. And you were probably out the night before, so you were a minute second, behind me. You were second. But it's funny because I have my folder also, my binder, but I'm wondering now, did they give us the sign-in sheet copies so we can network?
Absolutely.
Way back when.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Sorry,
and I look through the list, and I recognize a few of the names, but it's funny because just a couple episodes ago, I interviewed Paul Haynes from Syracuse, and he was in our class too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. So Scott Haywood is on there. He's a friend of mine. He's a captain here.
He signed in right after me. He was number 3 on the list.
He always was a little slower than I am. So we might as well go there because I'm glad you brought that up. So that was a funny story. There's a whole funny story about that. And I was early in my career. So it was the first time we'd ever gone to Montour Falls. Mm-hmm. Scott and I decided to ride up together. Well, like I was just telling you offline when we were talking about our reading glasses, I had LASIK surgery the Friday prior. So Friday, we left Sunday evening. Scott drove, and from our house to Montour, like the fastest route takes you through these back roads, and you go through Warsaw and through like Mount Morris, all that way. But remember, this is 2002, so it wasn't. I couldn't just pop up. There's no navigation in your car. There was no Garmin's. There was no iPhones.
MapQuest printed directions, probably.
If that even. So Scott and I, because we both had young kids, we decided to make it as easy as possible on the family. So we didn't leave until Sunday evening. So it had to be this time of year, probably April, May-ish.
I think so.
Because I remember it was a nice day, but I mean, it was nice. The day I had the LASIK was a nice day. So anyways, and we're driving there and I'm like, you have no idea where you're going, do you? Like that was when Blair Witch Project just came out. And for you young folks out there, look that movie up. Like it was this terrifying movie. And that's what we were driving through. Like, I'm like, we are in the Blair Witch Project now. And finally we got to the academy. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And now back then when there was busy, you used to share rooms sometimes if you had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Absolutely.
had no idea. So we get there, we walk in, it was before there was no security, anything like that. We get our keys and no idea any of the rules, anything about the place. I had a cooler with beer, which you're not allowed to have. So I'm walking through the building and then you hear clink, 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 clink my butt. But it was late at night, so there was nobody around. We get up to the room and then I realized looking at the board, you used to have a board with all your name and your keys. I'm like, man, I might have a roommate. Well, it's like midnight.
Mm.
And we had class started at 8.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't have a roommate. Like you'd think they'd be smart enough to have Scott and I, because we were traveling together, room together.
Right.
Well, anyways, long story short, I didn't have a roommate, but it was quite an adventure because we had never been there before, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, now that I've been there 100 times, I can,
It's still in the middle of nowhere.
It's still in the middle of nowhere, but I'm more familiar with the nowheres around it. You know?
Right.
But yeah, so it was funny, and then I remember Charlie Courtland and Mark Butler were the instructors. I remember that, and we had there's a big fire there the night we got there. I think at the old bar that used to be right straight there, right by the academy. But
yeah,
funny story, and I'm thinking that I bet you, these guys are ahead of their time. Now we would have just all shared our Instagram handles, but they gave everybody copies so you can network, and you could tell I did an awesome job at it because I don't even know if I have the binder still that says instructor 1 on it, but
well, it's funny because you look
if I had the sign-in sheet.
You look at even some of the email addresses. There's not a. This is pre Gmail, folks, because there's not AOL. There's not a single Gmail on here, but there's a bunch of Verizon.nets and AOLs.
What's mine on there?
Yours is Adelphi something. Adelphia.net. Yep. Yeah.
That is a long time ago.
It is. And I still talk to people, because in the career world, obviously some guys kind of get pushed into the instructor role, whether it's because they're becoming an officer or not,
Mm-hmm.
but in the volunteer world, you don't have people stepping up every day to go take fire service instructor 1. And it's still to this day, one of the tougher of the classes I've ever taken. One of the more time. I mean, you didn't go there and not do anything for a week. You were working for a week.
Well, I remember that. The guys at night were like, hey, you want to go grab a beer? You want to go grab dinner? Yeah. I'm like, well, how do you guys have time to go grab dinner? Like, I'm going right across the way into the computer lab because that's what it was called at the time, and working on this stuff and reading and doing the project. Because day 2, they give you your first presentation, and then the next day they give you your big presentation. I'm like, I don't have time, but some guys pulled it off, and I remember standing by the bank of payphones when they gave us our test scores. Like, that's how long ago it was. We had, everybody's calling their wives or girlfriends or boyfriends or husbands for some of the females from the payphone going, okay, we're going to be on the way now. So we'll be home in a couple hours.
Yeah. But to this day, I still try to, push people that I could see have the interest, because, it was a great class, and it definitely, set me up for a lot of things that I did in the future, and even I just had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody over the 2 different ways they still do the program today. Either you can go a full week or you can go a couple of weekends. And I said, listen, when I did FSI 1, I went for the full week because I wanted to commit. I had heard how tough it was. I just wanted to be there and not have to focus on anything other than that class and the work that I had to get done with that class. When I came back for level 2, I did the 2 weekends because I kind of knew what was expected of me, and it was just, it fit family life a little bit better a couple years later. But yeah, good times,
Level 2 is a different animal. I was fortunate. They came here for that one, and I took it. But so much carries over. That was it wasn't. It's maybe truthfully, I was much further into my career, so a lot of it was became more natural to me than back then. But no, it's no joke. It's a hard class, and you have to take just like every program, some of it's good, some of it's fluff. Like, there's some stuff in there that obviously you just have to weed through, but the educational portion of it is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
The educational techniques and things like I still disagree that they tell you how far away your desks should be spaced and things like that. But,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
ahead of their time with social distancing, I guess.
Yeah, for
But
sure. For
it
sure.
is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was a good thing, and it's just funny that all these years later, here we are connecting again in different ways.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Couldn't
it
I
definitely makes
couldn't
me laugh a
believe
little.
I couldn't believe when you sent me that screenshot of that sign-in sheet.
Well, I
That's
couldn't believe it when I opened the book, and we had been bullshitting on social media for a while at that point, and I
yeah,
opened the book and I look, and first name on the list is like I had to look twice. You talk about readers. I had to put my readers on to make sure I was reading. It was the same guy, and obviously, I mean, how many Sean Eagans am I going to find? But then when I saw Buffalo Fire Department, I was like, yeah, it's definitely the same guy.
Clearly, I didn't make a huge impression on you back then.
well, it's funny because it really, the name. I remember the instructors. I remember the guy I went up there with from my county. But other than that, I think I remembered one of the state, FPSs that was there also. But I really couldn't remember anybody else. But that was a long time ago.
God damn, it was. We're getting old. We're getting old.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy when you look back at it. But
reading glasses and classes together 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
It's over, Chief.
So we were originally going to grab Bobby and bring him on this episode, but he's all over the place, and understandably so.
He's working. I'm waiting for that. I get my buff alerts. I'm waiting for his technical rescue job to come in Camden because he's on overtime on the rescue today.
But we're definitely going to do this again, and we're going to get him on here. But yeah, so you're diving into a couple different lanes now, as far as the instructional side of things. Still doing some special ops work for the state, but then working with the Eckert crew and the stuff that they're doing. And just as somebody that's been involved in the state life for a while and kind of knows how things are and how they have to be, and watching what you guys are doing with Eckert, it's really it's interesting, first of all, to watch. But then after talking to Bobby on the side a couple of times through some basic bullshit messages, it really is cool to see how it's being done. Look, in fire service training, we all know that there's a lot of different ways that it can be done, right? Obviously, safety is number one, but in certain aspects of that training world, you can enhance a little bit more than in others, right? Is that politically correct enough to say, I guess?
Well, it's not Eagen Fire Tactics, so yeah, you could totally say that. No, but you're right. You're 100% right. You have to follow,
right,
especially when you're dealing with live fire. I mean, you have to follow 1403. There's just no two ways about it. And
right.
But you tried to, not speaking for him, but we try to challenge the students in other ways. So just the other day, we're doing a leader line stretch. So these guys are stretching long stretches, which it's something foreign to me. We don't do it because largely most of our buildings, it's funny actually, most of our buildings, residential anyways, are pretty much the same. 15 feet or so setback. Lot sizes are largely the same, but weekend at 2 days after the weekend in Rochester, where I was going over the leader line class or the leader line station, we had a huge fire. You probably saw it at a bowling alley, and that's a perfect scenario because the best access to the fire was off the street, long stretch with a 2.5 around back, and then you could have broke it down once you got in,
right.
But it was an interesting dynamic. So he adds challenges to challenge the students safely, but to make it worth their time and their effort. These are the best, the best of what the fire service has to offer. These are students giving up their weekends to come spend them with
Right.
us, some
Right.
on their own dime, some their departments are sending them. And so we are cognizant of that. And Bob's, again, I don't want to speak for him, but I've gotten to know him well over the last couple of years. He is so concerned about the people that he wants his programs to be 100% a class that he would want to go take, that he
Right.
would want to pay his money to go take. So he is working nonstop to always improve. So if you've been to one of our events in the past and you're coming up and you get the opportunity to come again, it's going to be different. The stations
Right.
aren't always the same. We have to adjust according to the building or to the place that we had. The every burn building's different. Every training facility is different.
Sure.
So he literally makes the stations, that week once he gets to tour the building. So it's different. And the reason that I'm so happy to be a part of it is because it's about the students. It's all about, I use the example, it's the people before the profit. Like
Right.
let's face it, there's companies out there that pay me and you get what you get. We want everybody to leave there by Sunday afternoon. If you're not, dragging ass, maybe we
Right.
didn't do our job.
Right.
And
Well, and one of the things that again, just kind of paying attention is that, and books, you hear shit on social media, whatever. There's the textbook stuff that we all have to learn, right? We all have to learn how to do it the textbook way. But and again, being from that all volunteer world, some of these guys don't, once they come out of whatever that class is, that firefighter 1, wherever it may be, where they have to learn that NFPA accepted way of doing things, right? Let's face it, some of these guys might go back to great places where they have phenomenal training and they teach them, street smart ways and adapt them to their area, how to operate. But some people go back to places where they've got nothing, so to see it from that angle where, hey, listen, now you could go and it's going to cost you some money, but you can go and you can take a course that's going to challenge you and show you some of this other stuff is, it's good to see,
yeah. And that's the other thing I like about it is, my experience is Buffalo Fire Department, which is
Right.
sometimes I get criticized for that when I do my lectures and things. It's all I know. So
Right.
it's hard for me and I'm working diligently to change and working and meeting people at from these small career jobs or small volunteer jobs or wherever they're from that I've been meeting, going around with Eckert and the crew, it's educating me more than I'm educating any of them. And
Right.
that is you talk about a newfound respect for the way people handle. We send 29 people to a fire right off the bat on the initial box. I had 29 people there for suppression purposes.
Sure.
That's not including the chiefs and the support people. That is bodies there, either apparatus operators or firefighters ready to go to work.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. Some of these apartments that we're teaching, they don't have that many in their job,
No.
So and in the career side of things, you may have 100 members, but how many you have 25 that are active probably, and I'm just spitballing, but so you have 25 that are active and 15 of those 25 are at work when the emergency happens. So so it's a big learning thing for me, but the way that he does it, we have the stations, and what I try to do when I'm with them is, and I try to put them on, just like you said, that listen, this is something. Here's when you leave this station, you may not have this cool prop we have, or you may have this, but you can still turn this into a drill night. You can still take this, and everybody wants to do the fun stuff on drill nights, forcible entry or throwing ladders or even whoever. But when was the last time you were in a tight laying flat on your back after doing a full breach and try to put your SCBA back on?
Right.
Because that was the station we did one time, and I at the school, and he's Bob's like, you're going to do SCBA confidence, all right? And I'm like, well, that sucks, thanks.
Shit.
But it turned out to be a challenging course, and we had a school stage, and we we had the area, every school in the world underneath the stage used to store like the lunch tables or whatever.
Right, right.
So we turned each of those channels into a little, I don't want to say maze, but a little course. So they started at one end, worked their way through, left-hand search, follow down, and got to a point where they had to breach, went into another channel, came down, searched all the way around. At that point, they had to do an escape to get through. Now, listen, some people could get through without, but I encourage them all. Like whether you can make it through or not, that's not the point. Do your partial escape or do your full escape, whatever you have to do, and go. So then this one, after the third channel, they had to escape. We encourage them to keep their pack off, push it ahead, get into the last channel, and then redon their whole pack.
Right.
And you think about that, it sounds so simple until every person that came out of there was like frustrated.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so hard. And I mean, it wasn't this tight. It was a decent space. You couldn't be on all fours because you would hit. But you weren't in there like, get me the hell out of here, because it was, you were confined.
Right.
It was a knee wall at any house that you've ever been in.
Yeah, so it was a realistic scenario. It wasn't a confined space scenario. It was a realistic scenario. Yeah,
right, 100%. And that's what I would tell the students. I said, excuse me. I said, you have to understand that this isn't, there's two schools of thought with those mazes, and they're great, but there's no learning if all you want to do is get the hell out of there. The second you're in there, just get me the hell out of there. That's the opposite. You're so stressed, and your body, this was, and there was still some guys that were uncomfortable, and that was fine, but we coached them through it. So what we did was we had 2 escape hatches in the stage, so that if anybody got jammed up, they just literally stood up and they could get out. We just covered them with pieces of sheetrock. We didn't even fasten them. We just covered them to keep it dark.
Right.
And then we had some smoke, just a little barrel with just enough smoke so that you couldn't, again, there was no heat, which we,
right. Sure.
Realistically, we couldn't do it, but it was real smoky enough that as instructors, we had to have our packs on in there while we were with them watching them. And I had to use the tick to see them. So it was cool, but it was a different challenge. And then another day I did large area search, and the same thing. So nobody practices this because it's not fun.
Right.
But guess what? It's the one time your Walmart catches fire, your Dollar General catches fire, and you have a crazy smoke condition, and you're like, man, I wish that we practiced large area search more often.
Yeah.
And it challenged me because it's not something I do all the time.
Sure.
But it was a perfect thing. It was a perfect drill I worked in with my crew the week leading up. So I said, hey, we're going to do large area search drills. And I'm like, really? Why are we going to do that? I'm like, well, first of all, I got to teach it this weekend. But it made me think that, I'm just as guilty as the next guy. We want to train. I want to throw ladders every time we train. I want to open roofs every time we train. I want to stretch lines every time we train. I want to force doors. The real stuff that's going to save my life someday, we don't work on as often as we should.
Right. And it's funny because we've all, anybody that does any instructing at all, we've all had those people, right? Every class I do, I have that 16 to 18-year-old kid that's like 90 pounds soaking wet, can throw his turnout coat on without even like unbuttoning it, right? Can throw it right over the top of his head, and you get to firefighter survival or whatever you're doing, and they can dive through the wall like there's not even a wall there. It's like, bro, that's great. I'm I'm glad you can do it, but you need to know the skill. Like this may not be you forever. You may experience something that's not going to work for you.
Well, and you're right. And to that end, that's exactly the point, is that when it happens, and I didn't say if, I said when it happens,
right,
15 years into the kid's career, and his knees don't work as well as they used to, his hips don't move like they used to, his shoulders don't move like they do. That is why practicing it, and even if you get coached through it, it's that unconscious thing in your brain, like, oh, I remember way back when that guy from Buffalo said, hey, if I just move this way, here's a good trick, it saves you from potentially getting yourself jammed up. Like I believe that, and people probably argue with me about it, but I think that there's a time and a place to push and a time and a place to coach.
Yeah, I agree.
And anything like that, where, listen, that potentially, if you're in a position where you're taking your pack off in a fire, you're in trouble, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the time that you want that little voice in your head saying, okay, just hold on to the left strap. Here's what I'm going to do. I remember he told me lay on my stomach or lay on my back and roll around and it'll all fall. And,
Right.
and that's how it did. And I got some really, really good feedback from the students because I thought I turned a station that that they thought was kind of going to be like a piece of cake into a challenging station. The
Mhm.
frustration on their faces because they couldn't get their packs back on
Mhm.
was unbelievable. So
Right.
they would come out and they're like, "Can I go again? I want to get this." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's go." And
Yeah.
so,
And I think, and I think the reality, just listening to everything you just said, the reality of it having, having the smoke, having the real smoke versus just going the easier route for everybody, the
right,
instructors and saying, all right, turn your hood around backwards or shove wax paper in the mask or whatever. Again, it makes the station more realistic, because I mean, look, how many times have you done something with your hood backwards? But
tons.
tons of times, right? But I know plenty of people that are great firefighters and operate really, really well in smoke condition. But when you fill their mask up with crap or you turn their hood around backwards to the point where like they can't even see their own hands, it's for some reason it's different. It like flips a switch. They're super uncomfortable, they're not. And how many times in life is that your reality, where you
Very, very few.
you know
And that's dear. I'm glad you said that because again, not to become you make lemonade with lemons, right? If that's
right.
all you have and that's the only option, the mask thing works. We do the mask, the hood on backwards when I practice Mayday drills with the guys because it's not
Sure.
about they're not moving, they're sitting still, but I want them finding their portable. I want them finding their pass device. I want them finding if
Sure.
we teach it less case, worst case scenario, their Mayday button, man down button.
Yep.
But at least with smoke, there's that. Like even in the shittiest, the darkest of fires, you turn your light on, you're not going to see anything, but you'll see the glow of your light. You'll see
Right.
the so you have that little bit of your sense. You already lose enough senses in smoke conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I and I agree with you. It's an added stressor that aren't used to. Everybody's been in a smoke condition. Everybody's been in fires, and adding that it keeps that. So if I'm wearing a clinging steel on my mask and I get jammed up, I'm like, all right, screw it. I failed the station. I'll start over.
Right.
If I'm in a smoke condition, I go like that, I'm going to get jammed up.
Right. Right. Right.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I agree. The more realistic you can make it, the better. Right? And understanding that the
Yeah.
challenges are there.
And look, I know there's people out there like, oh, listen, my point is this, and I've had this conversation with people, how many times can you, if you took your hand and put it in front of your face, could you not see your hand? Right. So for some people, just that little bit of, all right, I'm okay here because I can see, let's work through it. I can see around me. Right. It's not, especially when you're talking about firefighters that don't do this all the time. Right. Which is
Exactly.
who you're experiencing a lot of, I'm sure, when
Well,
you're
and
out
that's
doing
it.
this.
And you don't want, and I'm not just talking about with the company. I'm talking about in general. You don't want. It's so hard, especially in the volunteer world, to get good people because the
Mhm.
requirements to join are crazy. And not. I'm not saying that's crazy in a bad way. I'm just saying it's quite a commitment
Yeah, absolutely.
to volunteer your time to serve your community. I mean,
Yeah.
and so to scare the hell out of somebody right off the bat,
Mhm.
and maybe that's a bad term because I'm not trying to belittle, take away from the job we do because it has its moments for sure, but you know, to put them in a scenario where they're like where this is how it always is,
Mhm.
you know. There's two schools. I always joke when we talk about like the Chicago fire. People are like, how realistic is that? I'm like, oh, super. We're all devilishly handsome, as you can tell, and fit as a fiddle. And the
Yep.
fires are super easy because our victims just yell to us when we see them. And I'm
Right,
not
right,
trying to
right,
say
right,
that,
right, right,
but
right.
like the Hollywood there's the Hollywood end of it, and then there's
Real
the
life. Yeah.
training end of it, and then in the somewhere here is the real life.
Yeah, yeah.
But like you said, there's something to be said to be able to at least be able to identify the ground or oh wait, that looks like it's still the same. You know, I still need to do my good practices to figure out my way out or my way through and do,
Right.
but at least I can, it's not just total darkness
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Well,
that's the difference between smoke.
right. And look, sometimes the buildup to that scenario isn't very long. You know, I look at some of the, some of the early, some of the firefighter one programs, and you go from guy walks in night one, guy or girl walks in night one, and it might be the second time they're even putting PPE on, right? And then 3 weeks later, they can't see a goddamn thing, and they're trying to figure out what in the hell they're actually doing here.
Right. And let's expound on that, and that they've never, ever been in that situation before.
Right.
It's the same reason
right.
that you climb ladders early on in firefighter one, because
Right.
you don't know you're afraid of heights until you get to the top.
Right.
Or till you're posed with climbing, and like that's the point. And you're absolutely right. To go from, it's the crawl, walk, run thing.
Yeah.
Hey, brand new 18-year-old kid, I know you want to be a fireman because we get cool T-shirts, and
Yeah.
it's dangerous, and it sure has its moments. But we're going to get you before we throw you into the proverbial fire. We're going to get you there. We're going to start with a little bit of theater smoke, whatever, and then we'll graduate to the covered masks, then we'll graduate to real smoke, and then we'll graduate, which perfect world stuff, I suppose, because you only get these folks once a week or whatever,
for X amount of time.
I mean, and that's the struggle, and it's always going to be the struggle for educating, just because you have drill nights once a week for 3 hours, and you have 120 hours of training that you have to provide for your people.
Sure.
There's not a lot of extra time, and you can't,
right. And different schedules and different personalities and different skill sets. And,
100%.
I'm curious, as a guy who spends most of his time on, on truck work in a truck company, in the beginning stages, my scariest moments anymore, and I say this all the time, are saw nights. Just because
so much can go wrong.
So much can go wrong, and so many. And I don't like making it generational. Whatever you can make it generational. I don't think it's but just so many kids are coming in with they've never touched a saw in their life, and look, I come from a pretty rural area. There's people burning wood and cutting down trees and doing yard work, and it's I'm not saying that they're up on roofs cutting holes, but typically you used to get more people that knew how to start dad's 16-inch still saw that but it's wild to see kind of that change, where you got to teach it right from starting the thing,
But you're right, but the same, I think, I could be on. I might, if I'm being 100% honest, the first time I ever, like, I grew up in the middle of the city. Like, we weren't slinging chainsaws.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know people think my city's dangerous and there's bullets whizzing by my head all the time, but we weren't slinging chainsaws and things. And it's that whole thing with the generational stuff bothers me, because when I got hired in 1998, the guys that got hired in 1988 hated my guts too. Look at these new guys; they don't give it, so it's the same. And
sure,
but
it's different stuff. It's the same with different stuff, right?
Right, yeah.
Basically,
like, it's this thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, they're just staring at their phones." Well, they're staring at your phones because you're not talking to them. I'll come to lunch or dinner at the fire station, and I work with adults, and I try to tell the guys, sometimes I'm the one on my phone because I'm watching one of the kids' games, or I'm following along on Game Changer or whatever, if the kids are doing their sports. But you bring a topic to the table, and nobody's going to be looking at their phones. That's the perfect time. You have that half hour of family time, if you will. And this is on the career side, but the volunteer side too. There's people at the stations all the time.
Sure.
either, socially or a work party or whatever. And you just have to engage them. Like I prefer the idea. My brand new rookie now never touched the saw till the academy, and I got to start him fresh. He
Right.
didn't
Right.
have
Right.
any. He didn't
Absolutely.
have
Yeah.
any bad habits, which that's the other thing. This
Yeah.
whole thing. The guys that are good with saws are like doing this crap, like the
Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah.
Like look,
Yeah. You're right.
it's no different
100%.
than teaching like the rope rescue stuff. I don't care if you're a climber, if you're a rigger, if you're an arborist. This is rope rescue. We're teaching you this way. Yes, your
Yeah.
way works. Yes, it works. But this is the way we're going to do it. And here's why. Because I can
Yep.
teach it to you who has experience, and I can teach it to you who's never touched there's no idea what a Prussic cord from a carabiner, and it works. And that's our job as
Yep.
chiefs, as captains, as officers, is to say, wow, and have a little fun with them. Oh,
Yeah.
geez, you never used a saw before. What's wrong with you? But I'd rather than throw them to the wolves and have them get, God forbid, get injured or injure
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah,
And
and
you
you bring
see
it,
it.
and you bring up a great point, because you do see so many different levels of experience. It takes something as
Yeah.
simple as ladders. Look, we get a lot of guys that volunteer, that work for, utility companies or power companies or
Yeah.
Verizon or Time Warner or whatever. And obviously when they're at work, they're trained to do things a certain way. Now you bring them over to fire school, wherever that fire school is, and you're like, hey, listen, all right, I know this is how you do it when you're by yourself in your van,
Right.
climbing a pole. But yeah, it's you see so many different interesting things, and you're right. Do you like the clean slate, or do you like having to kind of explain? All right, listen, that's what you do there. Let me show you why this is what you do here.
Well, and it's I almost prefer the clean slate. I ran
Yeah.
into excuse me, a recruit that's trying to get on our job, and he's like, oh, you're the captain of the truck 7. He lives around the corner. He's like, I just want to work there so bad. I've been a roofer for 30 years. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're welcome. If you can get here, great, but I don't care that you're a roofer for 30 years. That just means you're not afraid of heights. Perfect. But
Right.
I don't want, to climb in with the rungs, and like, I don't know. I climb my ladder. If I go out and clean my gutters right now, I'm still climbing on the beams. It's because that's what I've been doing for 24 years, almost 23 years.
Right.
And the amount of people that when you have to fix bad habits, it's harder than getting them before they start developing bad habits.
For
And
sure.
that's part of it too. It drives me bananas when I see people like this heaving the saws. Like,
Yeah.
are you mad at that thing? Like, it's not going to start.
Yeah,
Do it right. Put it on the ground. Put a knee on it. Pull the cord. It's going to start in the first pull. I promise.
Yeah.
But it is, and the generational thing really. I feel like those people in our if I look at it, since you and I are in the same generation, I believe that part of that issue is our fault. If my kids aren't proficient, my kid's 23 years old, my oldest. That's my fault. It's not his fault. It's my fault, because I didn't teach him how to run the lawnmower or how to run the chainsaw or how to start the snowball.
Right.
So, like, the
Right.
hypocrisy of it all drives me batty. But I'm sure you're losing followers because I said that. But it's the truth.
No, not at all. It's true. It's true, and I think everybody understands that. It's it is what it is. I mean, and look, and who's ahead of the curve in times like this, right? Who's ahead of things when everything is shut down and we can't be in classrooms and we can't, and we gotta resort to technology. It's not you and I.
No, you're right.
We have to learn all this stuff, if we didn't, if we hadn't learned it already, but we have to learn to adapt to still continue doing whatever it is that we're out there trying to do, but
it was a game changer when I figured out how to change my background on Zoom. Like, I can't share any of them on your show, but I had some funny ones when we were doing our Zoom happy hours at the start of this COVID thing. I had some hilarious backdrops but that was like a game changer for me. Like, look at what I could do. And the whole time people are talking, I'm looking for a new funny background. But you're right. I go back to one of the early Eckert events. I was running a saw station. We were using rotary saws, and we were teaching again, hold another animal. Those rotary saws
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
tremendous amount of power that they generate and the force and the centrifugal force of them all. And so we were teaching a station cutting locks. We were cutting rebars. We were cutting silk hockey puck locks. We were doing chains, all kinds of stuff. But it was a saw 101. It was a start. Here's how you here's how you start it.
Mhm.
This is the proper way to start it. This is the only acceptable way to start it today. And we had a student, and it was a female, and she came up to me and she couldn't get the saw started.
Mhm.
And, I walked over, I said, "What, I said, what's the matter?" And she's like, I can't get it started. I can't. And it's okay. Well, let's talk it through. So she asked me if I would just start it for her so she could cut. And I said, well, to be honest, the cutting's easy. It's
Right.
that, the learning part happens here. So why don't we get it so you figure out what the issue is so you can get it started? And she's like, oh, okay. And I'm not going to patronize her. It's got nothing to do with her size, her strength, or whatever. It was just she didn't have the technique mastered. And so
Right.
we put it down, and I said, let me see how you're doing it. And I'm like, okay, use this foot instead of that foot, or this knee instead of that knee, and give it a pull. And guess what? It fired right up.
Yeah.
And it's no different than the leader line we were talking about earlier. Like the learning happens before we get into the building. When you get into the building, you actually get into the room to put the fire out, especially in training. That's just a circus trick. That's just the beauty. But all
Right.
the
Right.
hard
Right.
part,
Right. Right.
the
Yeah.
hard part's from the truck to the door, or from the
Right.
truck to the
Right.
fire room. Once you're in the fire room, it's kind of but so that this woman came up to me afterwards, and she's like, thank you so much. And I said, well, that's what we're here for. And
Yeah.
I said, and she said, no, but so many people would have just started it and let me cut. And I said, well, that's okay too. But I want you to know, guess what? Tomorrow, when you get to a fire and your officer or your chief says, go get the saw and get these bars off the windows, nobody's going to be there to start it for you.
Sure.
So now hopefully you remember, and you have no troubles. And she's like, yeah, I'll be at the station this week working on it. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
It's all about, it doesn't matter if you're 100 pounds or you're 250 pounds. It's technique, just like
Right.
everything else. And
Right. Right.
I,
Right.
I feel like if that made that female firefighter's day, great.
Well, and that's part of our job, right? Part of our job is
100% our job.
motivating people to be better, motivating people to
100%.
want to be. We can ask anybody to do anything for us, and it's like you said before, and I couldn't agree with you more. Going out and training with other people, whether you're on the student side or the instructor side, you're always learning. You're always learning. You're always picking up new things. You're learning from being around other instructors. It maybe just says something that you've never heard before or have experienced before, or you're learning from the student that's not afraid to open their mouth and say, hey, can I ask you, how come you guys are doing it this way when we've learned how to do it this way? Maybe their way there may not be anything wrong with their way at all. It's just a way they've adapted to their area, to their agency, what have you. And you look at them and you're like, oh, holy shit, I never.
and that's the best part about it, is they ask that question, and it may be a tough question, because
Sure.
if I only know one way, and I don't want to say one trick pony because that's not appropriate, but if I only know one way and that's my way, which I was, again, like we talked about earlier, it was so much that, like, I've been a Buffalo fireman and that's it. And
Sure.
so when I had my way of opening it, using my example, I worked at Truck 6 as a firefighter for many years, and we had the way we opened roofs. I get to Truck 7 as a captain, and the way they did it was different than the way I did it. Not wrong. Again, the job got done. So, excuse me, we first few fires we went to, the captain's job is to supervise, not, I mean, I like to work as much as we can, and I'm like, okay, this works, so I don't need to change it. But I taught them my way because now it's a tool for the toolbox. And there's a million ways to, we have some steep, nasty peak roofs. So if it's snowy, we might add a second, there's the Milwaukee style, there's a Syracuse cut, there's all kinds of different cuts, and they're all tools in our toolbox, but we always resort to, the way that we do it. And
Sure.
it's the same, exactly what you're talking about. So we welcome questions. I actually loved last week in Rochester. I was the lead. So I was kind of like the organizer. I was the one keeping the clock and keeping everybody moving. So I got to rotate through the stations. So we have some instructors from big jobs. We have some instructors from small jobs. And to listen to the different techniques and the different styles and the questions and feedback from the students was amazing. So, and that's the best part about these events is that we're just, at lunch, I'm sitting next to the student. Friday night, we do the lecture. I sat at a table with a group of guys from Morristown, New Jersey that I met through social media, but I never met in person yet. And we sat and shot the breeze and had a conversation. And to hear how they do things because of whatever reason, because of their culture. I know that's the catchphrase, their culture or their staffing or their SOPs is great. And guess what? I'm in my brain, I'm not thinking, oh, these guys are idiots. I'm thinking, oh, that could work. How do I figure out when can I drill on that? Maybe I'll try that technique. And it's, it's there's not one way. There's a especially if you're listening to this podcast, chances are it's because they're into fire training. I have 100 books right up here on my shelf, and each way is going to teach you a little bit different: how to stretch, how to throw ladders, how to search, about leadership, and they're not none of them are wrong. And the best people are products of everybody. I love Manuel Freed's the first book, Fireground Tactics. It's one of the best books out there. But the next one is Fireground Size Up from Chief Turpak, then the Book of Andy, then Fire Command. Those are the first 4 books on my little list up there. Fire Command, Chief Bernasini's older book, but it's amazing. And the Book of Andy is a great book. I'm not a nozzle guy anymore, but guess what? I read them on a regular basis. And you have to be, in my opinion, you have to be well-rounded if you're going to be good.
Absolutely. Right. And that's one of the conversations that happens a lot, in the volunteer fire service world is you have to be well-rounded. You have no, sure. There are volunteer agencies out there that work like, career departments where they have guys assigned to engines, guys assigned to truck, rescue guys. Yeah, absolutely. But that's not the majority of the volunteer. The majority of the volunteer world is the pager goes off, you jump in your truck, you go to the firehouse, you get in whatever piece of apparatus is rolling out the door, and you might be cutting roofs, you might be stretching lines, you might be establishing water supply, and that's another whole conversation that you don't hear a lot about. We go in some of these clubhouse rooms and you got all these phenomenal guys teaching and talking and but a lot of them come from these big city jobs, and I have people throwing me text messages saying, hey, how they'll throw in something like completely to the left, like water supply, and I'm like, yo, you gotta understand that that's not their world. Their world is there's a hydrant every freaking street corner.
300 feet, 400
yeah,
feet,
yeah. They don't have to worry about tanker shuttles and drafting out of ponds and But that's where the job changes, and that's why you have to be so well-rounded. Like you just said.
That's it. And the drafting thing is funny because we'll do it here it's a circus trick. It's just to play with. Like, hey, let's go do something different today. Let's go drop this into Lake Erie and draft and see if we can do it. But I was just up with the recruits a couple of weeks ago at the state when I saw you at the state, and they draft out of the pond all the time because they're best source of water. And
sure.
I'm like, I go, I'm supposed to be running a station over there, but I'm over here watching the chief see how he sets up the draft. And I'm like, oh wow, that's a cool. That's my party trick. Like I'm watching this, like this is cool because you get spoiled, and we have hydrants. Buffalo's an old city, and our water supply is not awesome. We have a hydrant that we train on all the time by the firehouse. It's a white top hydrant, which is supposed to be the biggest mains, and it's horrifying. We get we're getting 40 psi to the rig out of the hydrant. It's not enough. Not enough to even when we were flowing, I was working with one of the pumpers. We just had our aerial up, just kind of flowing some water and adjusting the stack tips to see what kind of flows we got. And I was teaching them the difference between the 2-inch tip when you start dropping it down on the aerial, and it was about water, the volume. And their eyes, when they had that like gotcha moment, because they open it up with the 2-inch tip, and obviously we're just we're flowing 1,200 gallons per minute, whatever it was. But the water on the pumper is like, Their residuals down to nothing.
Right.
We're barely doing anything because we don't have enough water. Then we changed the tips, and all of a sudden they got all this water, and their faces were like, I don't understand. How did that happen? And
Mhm.
to have that good conversation with them. And then when you see the pump operator's eyes light up, like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. That drill was worth my time because now he gets it and he's going to show it to the next person and he's going to show it to that person. And in
Yeah.
10 years, when that guy's a captain, he's gonna be like, hey, I remember we were over here and here's how we solved this problem of no water.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's, you have to be well rounded. You have to understand.
For sure.
And it takes time. It take, in 2002, should I have been sitting in instructor one class as a 3-year veteran? Probably not. But I went on my own because it was something I wanted to do. The department, I mean, it was only, what was it, $100 for us to go back then, and it was just my time away from my family, but it was my
Hmm.
decision. Me and Scott went together, and it was my choice. Should I have been there?
Sure.
Probably not. But was I ready to be an instructor? Probably not. And I wasn't. It took me a few years before I actually started getting myself out there, but I laid the groundwork.
Sure, sure. And that's like everything else, and we talked about that before. You've got sets the foundation. There's the things that, somebody says you have to learn, and then there's the thing, obviously you take some really, big, lifelong nuggets out of that. And then
Oh
there's
yeah.
all kinds of stuff that you just, adapt over the years and, make yourself better and get around better people and take things from
Hmm.
them. And, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
It's constant learning. But, so one other thing I wanted to touch base on, because I know you've done some stuff in the past, and I didn't look prior, the conferences, FDIC, Firehouse, you've
Yes.
done a few of those. You doing that this year? You doing FDIC this year?
Well, it's a funny story. So yes and no. So
Yes and no. All
here,
right.
yeah. So I was picked to do the first two tactics for the urban engine boss class again.
Okay.
Funny that I don't touch fire hose anymore at fires unless an engine screws up and I get my chance. But
Right.
I'm like, but obviously, so that was 2020. They
Mm-hmm.
canceled FDIC last year, moved it
Sure.
to 2021. Then the date changed several times. So the date that they came up with was the week of August 24th,
Mm-hmm.
and that is our family week. That's our vacation week. We go to the beach for the week,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
There's no. I wasn't going to even ask my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if I said, "Hey, hon, this is a great opportunity," can I skip vacation? But I
Right.
wouldn't do it because it's the only week where most of the time we go with two other families and
Mm-hmm.
it's away, and that's our week. And so it was the week of August 24th. So I emailed Ginger and Chief Halton, and I'm like, unfortunately, I can't do it. It's just too important to me. Like, your family is for everything. So
Sure.
as important as FDIC is to me, my wife and kids are
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't, it's a
Yeah. As they should be.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, interestingly enough, they changed the date. So they changed the date again to the early in August. So I reached back out. I said, oh, well, those weeks work for me. And they said, okay, but we didn't bring everybody because the conference kept changing. They lost so many. They shortened they made the program smaller. So right
Mm-hmm.
now I'm kind of like waitlisted.
Gotcha.
So the answer is yes. And
Yes and
I
no.
will presently are not going to be there, but I will be in Columbus in September for Firehouse Expo. The last conference I went to was Firehouse World in Vegas. It was
Mm-hmm.
prior to COVID, but September 14th to the 18th, I believe, are the dates. I will be in Columbus, Ohio for Firehouse Expo, and those events are great. And it's an opportunity to almost like a one-stop shop. I can
Mm-hmm.
get a little bit of what Chief Solar's talking about, and a little bit of what Sean Eagen's talking about, a little bit about what Bobby Eckert's talking about, just to wet the whistle.
Right.
It's because they're short programs, an hour, 2 hours. Some of them are longer, obviously, but
Right.
I'm doing developing today's truck company culture class there, and I'm also teaming up with John, and we're doing managing everyday incidents and it's your routine stuff, the stuff that you go to all the time that you probably overlook, you get complacent on. But it's a good program: electrical emergencies, culinary mishaps, gas emergencies, CO calls, things like that. And but I'm reworking presently my truck class, because the culture thing it was kind of dumped on me. Not dumped on me, I shouldn't say it like that, but when they did the Firehouse Expo Direct back in December, they were trying to, because of the format, because the digital format, they were trying to stay away from tactical programs.
Right.
So they asked me if I'd do this culture program. Well, I'm like, well, shit, I only got like a month, so I'll see what I can do. So I built one up, and then as I'm going through it, I'm like, you know what, this is pretty much still a truck tactics program. So I'm reworking that class right now, actually, and it'll be ready, but it'll be we're going to talk a lot about the company, the company as a whole, the unit, your platoon or your team, obviously ladders, because there's a huge thing. Like, your department may throw 2 ladders at a fire, my department throws 30, and training, and we're going to also talk about how our culture, in terms of our crew, company pride type of thing, our unit, our ladder, and our training, how that all helps those of us that are, when we get to the fire ground and what's going on under the roof, how the you and culture is kind of like under the roof, how but it's evolving, and it's becoming more of an interesting program. Like, culture seems to be, I don't want to say flavor of the month, but it's important, and things go by the wayside, just like we were talking earlier about training. This safety and survival training stuff's fun, but people maybe don't want to do it because they don't want to challenge themselves. They don't want to end up in that dark smoke condition. So that's kind of where, hopefully, this developing your truck company culture just shows that truck work has to get done at every fire, no matter what. You roll up on an engine, you need to truck work needs to be accomplished. If it's search, if it's vent, if it's whatever, those all have to get done if you don't have a dedicated truck company. So looking forward to that. Those are the only 2 that I have on the slate. But I'm hoping that something happens and the stars align and FDIC needs me, because I really truly love going there. Again, like I said, it's a one-stop shop. I get to see my friends, people that I only network with this way, that I don't get to see in person all that often. And it's like old times, like I saw you a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, oh, hey, look, there's Chief Solar. I've only laid eyes on him via
via Zoom and Instagram
or social media. Now I don't even see it. I just hear your voice on Clubhouse. But yeah, that's what's going on for me. And we have some events coming up still for Eckert. Finally for the state, we have rope rescue operations coming up in a couple of weeks.
Great.
They're finally starting to open things back up, and because a lot of that stuff, as you know, it's hard to teach ice rescue and rope rescue operations, things like that, and be socially distant, right? I mean, they're hands-on programs, and they are what they are. But I think as more people are getting vaccinated and they're starting to open the training back up, which I really am looking forward to that, just to get back out there with the guys.
I agree. I agree. It is nice to get back to some type of normal, and look, it's always kind of hanging over your head. We've had a couple instances where, you get the phone call, oh, so-and-so isn't feeling well. And you're like, oh, crap. Here we go again. Is this going to shut us down? Are we going to, but it's
realized I'm bleeding over here. I took a tool to the face the other day, and I must have, while we were talking,
you must have just done it, because I haven't noticed it for the last hour. So
my nose right here is it's not like a giant zit. I actually got hit. I got hit in the face. I was prying something at the station. A tool broke and hit me in the face. So, and I must have, while I was talking, knocked the skin off.
That's funny.
Great. I don't just start bleeding up, on a regular basis. But. See,
Hey, it just sticks with my whole non-editing theme that we talked
Right,
about before we hit record, right? So
right.
it is what it is. You know, if anybody ever if anybody ever questions whether or not I actually do edit episodes, or you've just learned that I don't,
Just see,
because you're gonna see and hear about Sean bleeding.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
but,
it is what it is. I'll be all
yeah,
right.
yeah.
But
All right, sure. Well, listen. I'm glad that we finally connected to record this. So we've talked about it for a while. You know, I
oh,
think
heck yeah,
we
yeah.
started talking about it kind of at the beginning of the year, definitely the beginning of the year, and then we all kind of got sidelined by the whole clubhouse thing. So we started connecting there all the time and talking in those rooms. So it kind of sidetracked us for a bit, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to connect, good to sit down, do an episode with you, and we'll do it again. We'll get Bobby on with us, and we'll talk more about Eckert and what you guys are doing there.
Yeah,
But
and then we'll have to get one. We'll have to get you. John and I got to get together, and we'll have to get you back on, or get you on our show. And
yeah, absolutely.
we've been slacking, but things, like I said, when sports started back up, things have gotten busy, and now the summer is coming, but yeah,
Well,
it'll be
listen,
great.
the other thing is that there's so much online stuff going on right now. I mean, and that you reach out to somebody, and a lot of people are reaching out to a lot of the same people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I look at my calendar, and whereas and it's not so bad anymore, but a month or two ago, when I would look at my calendar and I would see that I would be out of the house like 3-4 nights a week, either teaching or Firehouse or what have you, I'd be out. 2 months ago, I'd look at my calendar and I'd have 3 nights a week doing this,
Mhm.
sitting in front of my camera, either with a meeting or recording something or whatever, So it's interesting how COVID has kind of changed all that. But
Well, and that's the thing. You really have to prioritize, and that's why it was perfect when you said, "Hey, I'm free tomorrow morning. I want to get this done." I said, "Yeah." I woke up at 6:30 this morning,
yeah,
not because I had to, because my brain was like, "All right, time to get up."
yeah. No, I
And
hear you.
and here we are. Whatever time, it's a little after 10. I'm ready. We're wrapping up, and the rest of my house is just starting to get moving. So it's
You
perfect.
got it. Perfect for me too.
Yeah.
All right, tell everybody where they can find you and connect with all the good stuff you're doing.
Yeah. So I'm on all the socials. The one I use most and the easiest to get a hold of me is through Instagram now. I've been trying to transfer, kind of get the Facebook stuff more to, um, you know, family and close
Family
friends type
life.
of stuff. And,
Yep.
yeah, you understand, but I'm Sean Eagen, just my name on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Thin Red Line Radios on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook also. We've been slacking a bit, but we're gonna get it. It's a priority for John and I to get going again. And but I'm out there, and I love to connect with anyone. The Eckert Fire Tactics stuff, again, not to talk on him, but he's at Eckert335, Eckert_335 on Instagram. He puts out good content, and he puts out a lot. So if you're not familiar with it, check it out. We have an event coming up in a couple of weeks in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and it's good stuff. But I'm out there, and I pretty much will connect with anybody. I love to talk fires with people, and so hit me up anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said this before. Those of you that listen to the majority of the episodes that we put out, I haven't talked to anybody on social as a guest on the podcast, on any of the platforms, right? That won't take the time out of their day to have a conversation with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much everybody is real, legit, will tell you how they feel, whether you like it or not. Okay. All right. But hey, that's part of what I love about the fire service is, hearing other people's opinions, whether I agree with them or not. I'm either going to walk away a better person and learn something, or I'm going to walk away and still be like, nah, I'm going to stick to my guns on this one, but,
and that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
yeah,
Someone has to be the designated adult and be like,
yeah,
oh, okay, cool. We're going to just agree to disagree, and that's
yep,
fine. But I still go have a coffee with you.
yep, absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
like politics, Chief. Nobody. I
Yeah.
don't talk about it with anybody because it's just not that important to me.
No, no, absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
don't care. And that's part of the decision that with the Facebook stuff was it got so bad with the politics, and
Yeah, I
I just
agree.
I don't care what side of the fence you're on. It's nothing to do with that. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
But like I want to see people's families and their kids and their sports and the cool stuff they're doing.
Right.
I don't want to see that. So, more that was part of the decision to kind of lock down Facebook. If I know you and and if we would see each other face to face and actually have a conversation, then of course I want to
Sure.
connect with you on there.
Sure.
But
Right.
and that's why I like Instagram, and I'm trying to get better and post more than I do. I tell you, I don't think like I'll have an idea and then I'm like, it's not that great. So I'm trying to. I talk to Jeremy all the time from National Fire Radio, and I'm like, I got to start posting more. He's like, well, just do it. I'm like, yeah, well,
Yeah, it's true. I know there's methodology to it all, and
yeah, I
you can,
don't. Yeah.
I don't. Again, I'm not, and the guys that are really, really good at it and big into it and have a gazillion followers, they're good at all that methodology and science, and
Yeah, the algorithm.
algorithms. I'm kind of like you. I have a
Yeah,
thought and I want to share it. I put it out there. If I see something I want to repost, it's that I think is great that somebody else is putting out there, I just do it. I don't think, oh, wow, Sean put out a great post today, I'm going to reshare it. Oh, but I better wait until 5 o'clock on Thursday because that's my peak time to throw it out there. I'm just doing it. But,
and there's some people putting out unbelievable content, and
phenomenal.
I'll read them like, damn, how when I say that, but there's some great stuff out there, and
absolutely.
And that's the good, and you have to just learn to, scroll on by the ones you don't like. Like there's the big debate going on with the forcible entry post that happened, and a lot of people are arguing about it, and somebody put out there, and whatever, man. Like, is what it is, And I saw it, scrolled bad.
Well, listen, and the thing is, and my post on that was, you got to look at it. You got to look at it from your lane. Like everybody can look at that post from a different lane, right? If you're on the job in the city, if you're on the job in the Bronx, or like that's every freaking day life for you. Like that is every single day, right? It's not every single day where I'm from, So what do you see in that post? Not right or wrong, right? What do you see that you can learn? Right. That if that was you and your crew, what do you learn from that? Maybe strive to be better. I don't know. Maybe that's a big one, but yeah, it got crazy, And
that's what I mean. Like there's the, again, not to even get into the discussion, but the heated discussions that happened like in the comments were insane.
Yeah.
It happened here with we had a picture, somebody posted a picture of the back of our rig, and guess what? Our tools aren't secured and they're just sitting there. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. Like, I don't have the ability to strap down all my axes because we just don't. They broke, the tool, the holders broke, or they whatever. But honestly, I've seen more culinary mishaps where guys get serious injuries preparing lunch than they have from a random tool flying through the back of the cabin. I'm not saying that your point is wrong. You're right. They're wrong, or you're right. It probably should be, but I can't do anything about it. So just move on, and that's the thing. I suppose that everybody's entitled to their opinion, but you don't have to share it all the time.
Well, exactly. and there's way too many people on social media that all they do is search, scroll to try to find things wrong.
Yeah.
Great. Who cares? I don't know.
I had another one. Somebody posted a picture of a pike head axe, and I was like, they're like, "Does anybody even use these anymore?" I'm like, There's six of them on my truck, and every fire we go to, that somebody's using one. And the comments were like, "I can't believe it! I can't believe it!" I'm like, "Well, we use what we use. We're not we don't have those fancy pigs, or we have flatheads, we have pike heads, we have mauls,
Mhm.
and figure it out. If you're coming with me as the irons guy, don't bring a pike head, bring a flathead, or bring a maul. That's
Right.
otherwise." We didn't until what, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, we didn't even have New York hooks. We had straight up old wooden,
Yep.
pike poles. So
Yeah.
now we have New York hooks, and people look at the pike poles like they're crazy. But we don't have. We use what we have to use, and there's presently, to my knowledge, there's no fires burning in my city. And
Yeah.
but just like, have your opinion, and great, I appreciate it. I have opinions too, and sometimes I type those opinions and then I feel better and I delete it before I even post it, just because.
Yeah. Done that a few times myself. But
I mean, people mistake passion for aggression sometimes, and that's fine. Passion is the next guy, but I just don't have the fight in me. I just don't care. Like, you disagree, sweet,
right.
great, God bless you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
All right, brother. Good talking to you again.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming on. We'll definitely do it again. And I will, for everybody listening, I will make sure I post all the links and every place you can find Sean and what he's doing in the show notes and on Instagram when I share it on there. And we'll hear him on Thin Red Line radio show again soon. I have a feeling.
Sorry for the bloodletting.
Yeah. All right, Sean. Good talking to you, brother.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.